Well, I reload the 338 Lapua Magnum on the Dillon RLO 550, and I use the Reading competition dies. The press wasn't really designed for those, but it works fine. And I thought I'd put together a video explaining how I load my 338s for accuracy. I didn't seem to see much of that on YouTube. But anyway, I start with the brass. I've cleaned it up some already, but the first thing we're going to do is resize it. And use the neck sizing dies to reset the neck tension. Well, I borrowed one of my wife's cookie sheets, and I used the Dillon case loop, which seems to work very, very well. After I've laid them out on the tray, I'll put a little bit here, maybe a little bit up there on the necks. Roll them around. Seems to work better if I let them set 3 to 4 minutes before I start to neck size them and put them in the full-length die. One thing I found about the 338 Lapua Magnums is that, especially in my Savage BA 110, that you have to be very careful about setting the shoulder back far enough to make them chamber well. And basically you do that with a full sizing die. And once you've done that, they'll chamber just fine. And these cases have been fired 8 times already. I'm hoping to get at least 10. I haven't had any signs of any case failure on any of these. Well, it's been a couple of minutes. These things are well lubricated. In the Dillon, the first thing you want to do is deprime them. Depriming also neck sizes the case. And since it's a progressive press, you can do more than one thing at a time. Well, about the next step for me is to check the cases for overall length. I used a Hornaday case trimmer. You can either use it by attaching electric drill or doing it by hand. It works very simple either way. Just a cam lock device. Set the cases in and trim a little bit. As you can see, not much comes off, but I like everything to be consistent. And that's the idea of having good accuracy, is for everything to be very, very consistent in all respects. Well, I took a couple of seconds and hooked the electric drill up to it for people that might be interested in how that works, which is very, very simple. It just takes a second. We're not taking much off. These are pretty close to begin with, but like I said, it needs to be. Well, the next step for me is to clean the primer pockets and chamfer both inside and outside of the neck, and also run a brush to them. Now, I use the RCBS tool because it's fast, it's fairly easy, and I have it. You can use the hand tools, but it works just as well. But anyway, here's what I do with it. Of course, it helps if it's plugged in or turned on. Just a little brief section on there, a little bit in there, a little bit in there. And do that, and that one's about ready to load. Doesn't take much. All you just do is break the edge off, both the inside and the outside, and that's just about it. Make sure that the primer pocket is clean. These have already had the burr taken out from the inside with a different tool. So I don't have to do it, you only have to do that one time. And the Lapua brass is very, very good. It's probably the best out there. And it's very, very consistent right out of the box. And as I said, these have been loaded 8 times before. And I'm hoping to get at least 10 out of them, maybe a little more. All right, I'm about ready to start reloading these cases, but for this particular load, as you can see, I'm using the IMR 4350 powder, the Federal Large Magnum 215 primers, and again, the brass, this has been fired at least 8 times, and these are Sierra Match King 300 grain. They've been Moly plated. I do that myself, but I don't know if you can buy them that way or not. I don't think it makes them any more accurate. I think it does let the bore stay cleaner a little bit longer. Well, I'm pretty partial to the Dillon stuff. As you can see, I've used some of it over the years, and if we're loading the primers in there, pretty simple process. It takes a minute or two, but it loads them into the tube, all in the right direction. If you're doing a lot of stuff, it makes a big difference. I'll give it a minute, and we'll come right back. Okay, the primers are all in the tube. They're all right side up. Take a minute, just put them in. And that's all there is to that. Well, I use a couple of different ways to check the powder for correct weight. But what I found over the years is that just the old mechanical scale seems to be the most accurate of all the ones that I've owned. I have a couple of electronic scales, but they don't seem to hold the accuracy as well or as consistently. So for today, I'll just check every load against the Dillon mechanical scale. All right, we're going to cycle the press one time. That'll put a primer in the pocket. There's one sticking up. As you can see, it's right there, that little purple thing in the middle. All right, I took a minute and stuck the shell in, and to put the primer in, you simply press the handle forward. All right, the primer's in. We'll flip it around to the charging station. Fill it with powder, pull it out. Now, I check every single one of these for the simple reason that went over a minute ago, is that I don't really trust my electronic scales anymore. All right, let's see how far off we are. That one could take a pinch or so. All right, well, maybe I'm a little anal about it, but to me, a good load needs to be consistent in every respect, and that's an exact amount of powder. That's exactly 84 grains of IMR 4350. Okay, we'll put the round over here to the bullet seating station. Stick one up in there. And that should give us a round that's ready to go. About the next step would be to check it. Well, about the next thing you want to do is to check the bullet for proper length. I use a Stony Point tool. I'd like to be somewhere around 2.971, 72, 73. You get a little bit of variance in it, but generally they're pretty close, and this would be more than acceptable. Well, I check almost every one for bullet run out. It's very important, again, consistency. The idea is a circle within a circle within a circle, and to be exact. This is a Sinclair tool. It's very simple to use. Simply place the bullet on the rollers, note where the mark is, and then roll the bullet. And as you roll it around in there, as you can see, I hope you can see, that's less than 1/1000th of an inch of run out all the way around. I think all these things contribute to good accuracy. Again, with the bullet placed on the rollers, press down a little bit, roll it around, and note where the dial indicator runs. And to me, this is less than 1/1000th of an inch of being out around. I don't seem to be able to make them any better than that. That's about as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned. Well, I thought I would add just a little bit about record keeping. I make a load sheet on every box of shells that I build. And the reason that I do this is so I can refer back to it later if I like the load and rebuild it again. I also have a notebook that I've put together for each one of my different rifles so that I can keep these load sheets and targets in. Well, here's an example of one I loaded this past March. The load sheet, the tape right there is out of the chronograph, so I know exactly what the loads have done as far as speed goes, and one of the 100-yard targets. These are 5-shot groups. It's a little hard to tell, but that's about a 1/2 inch group right there at 100 yards. And there's one that opened up a little bit bigger, but I keep records like this. Another 100-yard target. Now, these may be only 3-shot groups, but these are 530-yard targets. That's not too bad for something built here in my garage. And with this rifle so far, I have got consistent 3-inch groups out to 800 yards. Another 100-yard target. As you can see, it's pretty consistent. Seems to work well for me. Well, I'd like to end by saying I hope that this video has been of some help. And there are surely more than one way to do things. This is the way that happens to work best for me.